So I would like to make 4 points in 2 minutes, so half a minute each. So I start with something that was said also this morning as a summary of some of the workshops related to this topic. And in particular, the statement that I think that humans have value and that there is what was called this welfare floor, meaning that our children and our people that will come have the same rights to have a life as we had, or even more. So to me, humans have values also relates to some of the points that maybe Joy made in some of these papers, for example, that I don't think that everything that we are can be reduced completely into a machine. So that means that we have some values that cannot be completely embedded into a machine, and also that there is no race between us and the machine. I think more of AI as something that should augment and should improve our ability to be humans rather than being on a race with us. So that goes to my second point, is that most of the AI efforts that I see going around in companies, in academia and so on, are to create machines that are augmenting or extending our own intelligence, our own capabilities. So if you take humans out of this picture, then it doesn't make sense to build AI, or we should have another goal, because if our goal is really to build a technology that augments our capabilities, then the human cannot be taken out of the loop. So the human should continue to be there and being, improved and supported by machines. The third point is related to what also some of the vision that Stuart put forward this morning in his talk. You may remember that Stuart was proposing this methodology and vision of probably beneficial AI, which is going to realize human preferences, which is going to learn human preferences out of being, having uncertainties and so on, so to understand human preferences and achieve our own goals. So in that vision, if we buy that vision, then of course humans should be there, should continue to be there. Yes. And the last one is to give a bit of nuance to my position, is that yes, we should continue to exist, but in some sense we are already augmented and merged a little bit, because our watch, our telephone, maybe they're not internal to us, they are external to us, but are already something that are augmenting us. So short slogan, human-centric AI.
Human-centric AI.
Okay.
Okay. Danny.
Hey, my short slogan is upload superpowers. There's a lot of reasons I would want to be uploaded. I don't want to get old. I don't want to die. I don't want the people around me that I love to die. But there's also other weird superpowers that are like pretty different than that. I like to introspect. I like to understand, why I did something. I'd like to be able to read my code in that introspection. I'd like to deeply connect with other people, right? That's like a thing that we value a lot as humans, and I'd like to have higher bandwidth interaction and ability to share why I believe something and why I'm doing something. I'd like to augment. I'd like to become smarter, right? And I'd like that to be something, I could do in a principled way and that other people have access to. A weird thing that came up in the earlier discussion was like a kind of radical privacy that you could get. This is mostly just give a flavor of the other kinds of superpowers you might get, where, I could say, I could have a disagreement with somebody and be like, well, I have some things I'd want to keep private, but we can spin up copies of ourselves and we can have this, and our copies can talk, and then your copy can just tell you, like, are things cool? Like, should you just let this thing slide, and I can maintain my privacy. And then, another kind of like, another orthogonal superpower I would like is just to be able to be in bliss right now, And if I want to stay in bliss, that's fine. If some people stay in bliss forever, I feel okay with that. But, I think I'd come back and do other stuff too. And so, to clarify, this is assuming we're in a post-superintelligence world. I want to ignore whether or not it's desirable to push towards that world. And I want some guarantee that biological humans still have can still exist and get some meaningful economic share. I don't want them to all be destroyed or something. But I want to be uploaded. So if we had a super intelligence that had already stabilized the world, then this is something I would ask for. I'd be like, okay, can you help us get uploaded now? I would like those superpowers. I'd like to stay relevant.
Very good. Did you get the slogan, Anthony? Okay.
So, first of all, be careful about what you say on your survey, because I did a survey a few weeks ago, and now I'm finding myself here just supporting a position. I'm not that sure that that's a strong. So I think that there's some responsibility over there about this. But so this morning there were some arguments in favor of replacement. Peter gave some arguments, some discussion yesterday, and so. Yeah, so I will just give you the reasons why I chose replacement, which are kind of naive. But the first thing is that I think replacement is a kind of a very natural process. So we are replaced by our children, species are replaced by other species, and even galaxies are replaced by some other galaxies. And even very Kurzweil will be replaced someday. So I think that that's a kind of a natural thing. And so the question is, if we want to stop it, we have to be very sure what we want to, basically what we want to preserve. Do we want to preserve human beings as they are, with their DNA, as a kind of a DNA stock that we want to keep as it is? Do we want to preserve life? Do we want to preserve intelligence? Do we want to preserve civilization? Do we want to preserve experiences? And if we want to preserve experiences, do we want to preserve future, current, past experiences, people who we left behind and maybe we can recover in some way? Or maybe we should be censoring ourselves so that we might be recovering someday. So there are many different questions, and depending on these questions, we should answer these. Humans should be around in different ways. And the second reason I think I used to choose this is purpose. And I think that in many of these scenarios, you can see some of the scenarios in Max's book about the scenarios where humans are still around. In many of them, especially when you take the one about let's keep everything as conservative as possible, or the other one where you have these scenarios where you have a zoo or something like that. And I think I agree with some of your scenarios which go into a different direction, but in the end they will change human nature so radically that I would call that a replacement. So even for those scenarios, I think that, for instance, some of the scenarios where you can let things go as they, and for instance, just think in terms of evolution without a selective pressure could end very badly. It will be, in terms of evolution, it will be kind of a plague. So basically, I think that it's an open question just to think about what we want us to be replaced with or by. And I think this is a very interesting question. And of course, that's compatible to saying, okay, we are not prepared. So let's press the brake and think what we are doing. That's completely compatible. But in the long term, or in the long run, I think that's something that perhaps is going to happen anyway. So my slogan, I think, is replacement is natural.
Replacement is natural evolution. Okay, Big Kai.
Okay, so I've been tasked with pitching you that you should merge with AI. Like, we have a choice? Look, guys, we've got no better option. I mean, uploading, seriously? Kill yourself and run a simulation instead? And it's great, but you're dead. It's not you in bliss. Look, I mean, fundamentally, the problem is this. We suck. As a species, let's admit it, we're pretty lame. Like, we don't run faster, we don't swim better, we don't fly better. You know, our foreign language capability sucks. Thank God for Google Translate. Spatial orientation sucks. Thank God for Google Maps. Numbers suck. Math sucks. Logic sucks. Multitasking sucks. Our 360-degree awareness sucks. We have bad memories. We have poor perception. We have attention deficits. We have a serious inability to see things from multiple perspectives. We cannot be trusted.
We don't want to get depressed.
Why on earth would we not want something better? I mean, like, let's become something more trustworthy and more sustainable, right? But, you know, like, yeah, granted, there are a bunch of alternatives, like we could get replaced, right? But then, like, so all this enhancement is only for our AI children? I mean, that's all nice and everything, but look, we're still dead. Just stay as a human? I mean, unaugmented?
Okay.
That's lame.
I think
Just
now-
think, okay, I just want you to think. When all your material needs can be satisfied and you don't need money, what do you want? You want respect, you want esteem, you want affection, you want love. Forget the stupid Hollywood grotesque depictions of cyborgs like the Borg or whatever. That's stupid. Just think how sexy you could be. Merging is sexy.
Okay. That's the slogan.
That's the slogan.
Merging is sexy? Is that the slogan?
That's the slogan.
Okay, so now you have a chance to respond to, the
So I would say that merging is a kind of replacement in the end. That depends on the scale, and if it is an individual scale or it is just a global scale. Basically, if you look ahead, probably you are thinking of something so radically different, then you wouldn't call that human anymore.
I'm glad I've already convinced you.
Yeah. So what's the difference? That's my point.
Yeah, well, in my pitch, I concluded also by saying that instead of, I would not use the word merge, I would use the word augmenting, extending. But I think we are already augmented and extended, and we will continue to be, and that's our goal as AI researchers and producers. So it goes a little bit in that direction as well. So we are kind of converging.
I think uploaded entities should have the decision as to whether or not to merge. I think the uploading's the step you want to take so that you can then decide. It's like the incremental step, and then you decide. And once you might merge, you might want to unmerge. You might be like, it was weird in there. I think you would want that option.
I'd love to hear you debate your own self on that.
I don't know how to do that. It sounds hard.
How are we doing time-wise?
You got 6.5 minutes.
Okay.
Good.
So this is the time for questions from the audience.
Yeah, I got a question for the upload camp. And so I guess there's an assumption that your identity or your you-ness or what you care about is independent of the substrate that you exist upon. And so what gives you confidence such that of that substrate independence? You might think that intelligence can exist on different substrates, but you're actually making a stronger argument that the substrate is equivalent in all valuable and functional bases. So what gives you the confidence of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a technical. I think it sounds like a hard technical problem, but I think it's a technical problem. I guess like to imagine a test I might want to see happen is what I would like imagine happening is a bunch of people start getting uploaded. They're my friends, and I start interacting with them. I'm like, man, they seem like still my friends, and but they're like really fast, and they've got a bunch of dope things going on. And so, if I think there's kind of like a friend Turing test, like the people who know you best, if they still seem to think you're you, that then at least when you go to this new place, you're not alone, and it's not a guarantee of the sort you're looking for, but it's enough like, it's the kind of evidence I'd expect you to actually observe, and that's the kind of thing that I could imagine making me confident that I would want to be uploaded.
There's a question there.
So a lot of the question around whether or not you'd want to be replaced seems to matter a lot on your timeline, not like timeline like 30 or 50 years, but more timelines of like, do we want the human species to be replaced in this century, or do we want the human species to be replaced like 10,000 years from now? Because 10,000 years from now, like I don't know what humans are going to be like. I have way less stake in that. So can you say something about like, is it that you don't want humans to be replaced like when we get AGI in the near term, or is this like a very long-term question?
Yeah, more like a long-term. Well, that's my perspective. I think that at the moment we know so little about what is going to come that I wouldn't just take such an important step without knowing all the consequences. Perhaps never, we can never know the consequences, and maybe this is but for many other scenarios I consider, I don't see these are very stable scenarios. Either they end up with extinction, and I don't like it, or they end up in something that changes human nature radically. But I'm thinking of long-term scenarios. And I don't like this idea that let's stop everything and let's keep this kind of communities that go against technology. We know them. And I don't like that option. That's an option, but I don't like that option.
There's a question over Vika.
So when we're talking about what we want to happen to humans, then it seems like a decision that can be made for each individual human separately. Maybe someone wants to merge and someone else wants to be uploaded and so on. So would you all agree that the best future is one where each human can choose what happens to them as opposed to having one of these options kind of forced on them or not having a choice?
Why don't you put your thumbs up if it's yes?
Yeah. Vika?
I mean, yeah, totally. And I think if we ran that experiment now, you'd see who'd win.
That's, yeah.
Any other
Does anyone want to disagree with that? Just humans, do you want to disagree?
No,
Okay.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I think the voluntary system doesn't work at all. Once you create entities, then they have a moral right to exist, and they have power in the world. And then if you decide later, well, we made a mistake, then you can't. Those are irreversible decisions. So, and if it's allowing like purely voluntary, they might, the merged might outcompete the augmented. They might, be just so vastly more powerful that these people cannot interact in a meaningful economic or societal way, and certainly not in a democratic way. So, so voluntary doesn't work because of power disparities, and it's an irreversible decision. I'm anti.
So I mean, I think there's I'm trying to crystallize this question that some of these questions are dancing around, right? Like, say, how much of you can you merge, or how much AI can you merge into you and you are still you? Right, you can do all the plastic surgery in the world and you're definitely still you. But if I start implanting better spatial orientation and faster math and all that kind of stuff, would you be convinced that you're still you, as opposed to uploading a simulation into a totally different piece of hardware?
You don't even need AI for that question. You can just, there was one of these pictures about children this morning. We all love children. But when I was a child, this is lost. This is lost. I have some memories, but this is lost. So basically, I've replaced myself. Even if I recognize my pictures, I'm not that person. And I'm doing that all the time. I'm transforming all the time, and I'm forgetting things. So in a way, we are transforming ourselves. So we don't even need AI to have these questions about, if you are still the same person.
On the economic relevance or potential irrelevance thing, I think, I don't know, I'm just kind of want to assume that the superintelligence can help figure out an economic system that at least gives, it's like, say you stay human, biologically human, you're going to have less economic ability to create economic value, but you should still be, post-scarcity and have enough economic wealth to be flourishing. And that seems like there should be just enough wealth where you can guarantee something like that.
I think that I want to connect to the GDP and beyond discussion, because economic value is one thing, but maybe there are other metrics that we want to use, and maybe some of those metrics are also related to the fact that humans have value, augmented or not, and so if there is a value, then we should go for it, even if it's not economic value.
Okay, I think we need to wrap up, but I think there's some agreement that in the end we would like to preserve the human race, even if it is as a record or in a more evolved way or replaced way, but that allows us to preserve the past, future, and I think this was was a great panel, and let's thank the panelists for the positions and
And thank you, Carla.